The Tigers brought the American League's best rotation into Progressive Field and left with a 4-game sweep. It gets no easier tonight as the Tribe gets a look at former All-Star Jared Weaver and the Angels. Scott Kazmir has arguably been the Indians' best pitcher, and he gets the ball in as close to a must-win game as you can have next on Sports Time Ohio. From Progressive Field in downtown Cleveland, it's Indians baseball tonight. The Tribe continues their homestand. They welcome in the Los Angeles Angels for a 3-game weekend series. Hi again, everyone. Matt Underwood alongside Rick Manning. There's an old saying in baseball, you can win the offseason, but what does that mean once the game starts counting? The Angels made all the splashy moves in the offseason. They got Josh Hamilton. They were the team to beat. It hasn't worked out for them. They are really scuffling. In fact, they've lost 10 of their last 13 coming into tonight's series. But the one guy they've been able to count on all season long has been Jared Weaver, and he'll get the ball.
And he spent a little time on the disabled list this year, almost 2 months, but he's coming back. He's been throwing the ball very well. This is a guy that gives you different arm angles, and he rides a high fastball, which is only about 88 miles per hour, mixed with a good breaking ball and a changeup, and he's pitched very well in this ballpark. He's 5-0 in his career here at Progressive Field, and he's 3-0 in his last 3 starts. But the Indians have a weapon against him. Scott Kazmir, who has pitched very well in his last 9 starts. He is 4-0 in an ERA of under 2. He has just gone out there and just thrown strikes. His changeup has been outstanding. His slider has been good to the right-handers. He's given up very few hits, and he keeps you in every ball game. If they can get him any kind of run support, I look for Scott Kazmir to get a win here. He's 5-0 in this ballpark.
Yeah, 3 of his last 4 starts, he's given up 2 hits, no runs. That should be pretty good for the Tribe if he can continue that here tonight against Mike Scioscia's Los Angeles Angels. Mike Trout will have them geared up and ready to go. Jared Weaver will be on the hill against Scott Kazmir, and the play-by-play is coming up next. Beautiful night in downtown Cleveland. Indians welcome in the Los Angeles Angels, the first meeting of the year between the two clubs, and we're ready to go as Scott Kazmir winds it up and delivers inside ball one to J.B. Shook. .73 degrees, our game time temperature. And Shook takes, that's a called strike to even the count. Scott Kazmir's been on quite a roll for the Indians. And Shook lines his pitch on the 1-1 into center field, a base hit. Bourne over to cut it off. And Shook is aboard with a leadoff single. J.B. Shook followed by Colin Cowgill. Mike Trout batting third, then Mark Trumbo, Chris Nelson, Josh Hamilton, Eric Ibar, Chris Iannetta, and Grant Green.
Take a look at the numbers for Scott Kazmir on the year. 7-4 is his record. .389 earned run average, 100 strikeouts in his 111 innings. And he has been on a roll in his last 9 starts. 4-0 record, 1.93 ERA. He is perfect at home this year, 5-0.
Now Colin Cowgill takes a called strike. Cowgill's a former 5th-round pick of the Arizona Diamondbacks out of the University of Kentucky in 2008. Down on the dirt, good block by Gomes. He was traded to Oakland in the Trevor Cahill deal. He was eventually then traded to the New York Mets and then traded on to the Angels. So he's been on the move quite a bit throughout his young career. You get moved that many times in the first 5 years of your professional career, you got to be wondering, where do I hang my hat these days?
Well, as long as you land in the big leagues, I guess it's okay.
That's right.
And you get at bats, that's the key.
Made his debut in the big leagues just 3 years after he was drafted for the Diamondbacks. He has spent time also in the show with the Oakland A's and the Mets, and now, of course, with the Angels. Two-one pitch. He squares and takes down low, and it's 3-1. Cowgill, not a flashy player, but by most reports, a gritty gamer. And with Shock at first, the 3-1 pitch coming. Called a strike, a full count.
Well, anytime you faced the Angels before, it was automatic when you'd have a 3-2 count that they would be off and running. You know, it's not a typical Mike Scioscia team like it used to be in years past.
Shook draws a throw. Now, he does have good speed, so he could very well be moving.
Oh, I would imagine he will be. But, you know, they've always used to lead the league in stolen bases. They are 12th this year. They have 54. But they have given up over 100, 101 to be exact.
The most allowed in the majors. The 3-2 runner holds, and it's fouled back. Just underway here tonight. Indians and the Angels. LA comes in 51-62 on the year. A major disappointment based on their offseason moves that they made. The 3-2. Broken bat. It's going to drop in center field for a base hit, and Shook got a great read on it. He'll go all the way to third. So Angels at the corners to start the game.
Well, he made a good pitch. He broke a bat, and Shook got a good read off the bat because he realized it was not going to be caught. He got it down on the trademark. It's going to fall in, and you can see he's going all the way to third, so no big deal if he started to run. He gets there. They have him at the corners with nobody out here in the first.
And up comes Mike Trout. 20 homers, 70 runs batted in, and a .333 batting average. Hits it high and foul off to the right out of play. Since the start of July, Trout has picked up the pace, batting .387. Outside with it, 1-1.
Well, you can see he's pretty much at the top in all of those categories. The hits, the runs, triples. He can fly. He's a big kid. He's strong.
One. Mike Trout. This is an interesting note here. He's the first player in American League history with 20 homers and 20 steals as a 20-year-old and then as a 21-year-old. Just gives you an idea of how good, how fast this guy is. So much for the learning curve.
Well, and he's going to do that every year.
Called a strike in the outside corner, and it's 2-2. First and third for the Angels. Nobody out here in the first inning as Scott Kazmir in early trouble trying to work around it. But a tough customer at the plate, another tough one on deck. 2-2 pitch. Out of play. The numbers that Mike Trout has put up at such a young age and the company that he is in is really eye-opening. There are only 3 players that have 350 hits, including 65 doubles, 15 triples, 50 homers before they turn 22. The other 2 guys, Al Kaline and Mickey Mantle.
It's pretty good company right there.
Huh? Whew. Now, I never saw Mickey Mantle play. But when you hear people who did,
there was none better,
and start comparing this guy in terms of early age in his career. Up high, full count.
Well, right now, Scotty looks like he's battling himself. That's what it does early when you get that starter out of the stretch, and that's the time you have to get to him. You can get to him in the first 3 innings of a game where his ERA is 4.5, and don't let him settle in because he's thrown some beauties on the road where he doesn't give up any hits for 5 innings.
Good and it's pitch. Ball 4.
He wanted it too. Did you see that was a really close pitch? He was giving a little body English out there, but it goes as a walk. Check it out on our Nissan pitch tracker. It's go down and away. And boy, that's a tough one to take. That is a tough one to take, but it's called a ball. A little off the plate, I guess. So it'll be bases loaded, nobody out.
And Mark Trumbo will be the batter. Trumbo, like his teammate Trout, putting up big numbers at a young age. Swung on and missed.
Now you talk about, the excitement that Trout brings to the ballgame. This guy brings raw power.
Mm-hmm.
He can hit it about as far as anybody. And in the past, when we have played the Angels, we watched this guy get 3 or 4 hits in a game and never hit the ball out of the infield where he topped a couple. But boy, he has raw power.
Down on the dirt, good block there by Gomes. 25 or more homers in his first 3 full seasons in the big leagues for Mark Trumbo. What scares you is that 3 of his last 5 hits have all been homers.
Well, he started him off changeup, breaking ball. It doesn't look like he's going to give a fastball to him to hit. He's going to try and make him swing at his pitch, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a changeup coming right here. But the key is you want to throw a strike no matter what pitch you throw. You don't want to fall behind 3-1 after just walking Trout.
Throw it by him. Good fastball.
Challenged him, huh?
Sure did, and it was 2-2, but located well. Challenged him, but it was away enough. I don't think that Trumbo was going to be able to really catch up to it or do any damage with it. And the 2-2. Slashed foul, and that was a good swing by Trumbo because that would have been strike 3. Not a real good pitch to hit, but he was able to spoil it.
You know, that's a pitch that's about the same pitch that Trout had that he took for a ball, but too close to take. So you do what you can do. He fouled it off. You live for another pitch.
The 2-2. Hit on the ground by Cabrera. Shuck scores. Cowgill coming to the plate. The throw is not in time. And Mark Trumbo delivers a 2-run single, and the Angels have a 2-0 lead here right out of the gate. And still nobody out in the inning.
He hit that ball hard. It got shot past Cabrera before you know what to do with it. And good speed. They were off and running. That ball was away too, but he pulls it in the hole. Brantley coming up, and he was a little tardy, but they got a good jump off second base, and they're going to continue to run. So it's 2-0 Angels. Callaway coming out to the mound.
Well, he shows you great plate coverage, but also he probably was looking away because he hadn't seen anything inside. The Angels strike first, and Chris Nelson coming to the plate now. Chris Nelson, another guy who's bounced around in his career. Originally a first-round pick of the Rockies. He's also played with the Yankees, now with the Angels. And a fastball strike from Kazmir. Nelson attended the same high school as Brandon Phillips. In fact, Phillips was just ahead of him in high school down in Georgia. Back out of play. And like Phillips, he was going to go to Georgia to play college baseball, but when the Rockies drafted him, they enticed him with a good signing bonus, and off he went to start his pro career.
Tough to turn down that signing bonus sometimes.
Especially when it's in excess of $2 million.
Oh, yeah, there's no question. Sure. Where do I sign?
Can pay for college with that. The 0-2. Swung on and missed. Threw it by him. 1 down here in the first.
Let's check out the Kia Indians defense now that we have an opportunity. Brantley's in left, Bourne in center, Swisher in right. Chisenhall at third, Cabrera at short, Kipnis is at second, Santana at first with Gomes behind the plate.
Kerwin Danley calling the balls and strikes. Lance Barksdale at first, Vic Carapazza at second, and Gary Cedarstrom, the crew chief, is at third. Bounce foul by Josh Hamilton. Hamilton, the big offseason acquisition of the Angels. What you see there, just a .217 batting average. Yeah, he has clobbered 16 homers, but not what they expected. Runner goes to third, throw down, they didn't get him. Boy, the throw beat him, the tag was there. He either missed the tag or Gary Cederstrom missed the call.
Well, you're right. If Chisenhall applied the tag, sometimes on the dead run when you're going over there, your momentum carries you and you don't apply the tag. Look at Gomes from his knees. There's a throw, it beats him. If he applied the tag, he was out. But he may have missed him with that front arm. He never kept the glove down long enough. You know, and sometimes when you're moving, it's tough to do that. I didn't see if he got that front arm. The ball beat him. You're right. If he tags him, he's out.
The ball beat him. The tag beat him. The question was, did he get any leather on the arm of Mike Trout? Gary Cederstrom says no. And so Trout has his 25th steal. And he's at third base with only one out now for Hamilton. Josh Hamilton just 2 for his last 25. Swung on and missed the count 1-2.
Let's check it out. We'll zoom in and see if he does touch him. Can't tell. Cannot tell. It was close. If he touched him, he was out. But Cederstrom said no.
Gomes with another good block, and he keeps Trumbo at first, which is important because you can get Hamilton to bounce into a double play here. That would be huge for Kazmir.
That's the importance of this play. Not only do you save a run, but you save that guy from going to second base, and you keep the double play in order with just one out. That was well done.
Hamilton has bounced into 11 double plays on the year. And he drills this one to deep right field and gone. Boy, oh boy. The Angels come out guns a-blazing. They put a 5 spot on the Tribe here in the first, and there's still only one out. A 3-run homer for Josh Hamilton, his 17th dinger on the year. And he now has 54 runs batted in.
Well, he tried to sneak a heater by him in, and he paid the price for it. He had him waving at that breaking ball away, and look at that. You try and throw one by him inside, and guess what? It will not get past him. It gets into the seats, and it's a 5-run inning. And unfortunately, those have been coming way too often here in the last few ball games, the 5-run inning.
Well, the big innings have certainly hurt the Tribe of late. The 5-run inning 2 nights ago, last night, or 3 nights ago, and then last night, of course, you had the 6-run inning.
It's only the second home run by Kazmir allowed to a left-hander this year. And it's his 15th, so 13 have come off right-handed bats. That's just the second one, but it was a 3-run bomb, and it's a 5-run inning for the Angels, and they're making a statement with their big boy on the mound.
And already activity in the Indians' bullpen. 34th pitch of the inning is a base hit in the left field. Eric Ibar keeps the line moving for the Angels. Chris Iannetta coming up now. Not a play. The Angels coming off a series against Texas, much like the one the Indians came off of against Detroit. They were beaten 10-3 by the Rangers yesterday as Texas swept the Angels. But you wouldn't know it by the way they've come out swinging the bats here in the first inning. 5 hits in the first and 5 runs in.
Now, this is the 4th straight game for the Indians of having or allowing an inning of 4 or more runs. And that's something that's tough to come back from, especially when you're going to face a tough pitcher.
Casimir comes set. And the 1-2 pitch. That's hit towards center field. Bourne on the move. He'll make the catch. 2 down. Ibar back to first. Let's take a look at our keys to the game, courtesy of Akron Children's Hospital. Those keys may have gone right out the window already.
Yeah, I think so. It's time to re-rack.
Mike Trout hasn't done too much damage other than a walk and a stolen base and a run scored here in the first inning. Long way to go as the Indians are down 5 before they've even come to bat yet. 2 gone for Grant Green. And a pitch down low, ball 1. Drilled right field. Swisher coming hard. Had a good jump. Makes the catch. The inning is over. But the Angels strike for 5 in the first, and the Indians are coming to bat. Indian starting lineup brought to you by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. Michael Bourne, Nick Swisher, Jason Kipnis. Then it's Cabrera, Brantley, and Santana, followed by Jason Giambi, Lonnie Chisenhall, and Jan Gomes.
Jared Weaver on the mound for the Angels. Weaver this year, 6-5, 290 earned run average. He's looking for his first win on the road this year. But this guy, he's 6-2 at home. He has pitched unbelievably well in this ballpark. 5-0 with a 1.52 ERA and 8 starts here at Progressive Field. So, and they already put 5 on the board for him. So the Indians' offense, they have their work cut out for him.
And a fastball at 87 miles an hour in there for strike 1 to Michael Bourne.
Yeah, and you know, the amazing thing about Weaver, who's 6'7", he doesn't throw as hard as he used to. He's 87, 88, maybe 89, but he's so deceptive. He cross-fires. He's got an excellent slider, changeup, and he's very deceptive. He'll change the eye level of a lot of hitters.
Good changeup, and it's 1-2. Fouled right back.
See, that he went inside to keep you honest. He has good control with that fastball in. And don't be surprised. You'll see him throw it by hitters tonight because they're looking for the off-speed pitches against him. But he can throw that 87 by you.
Two and two to count. Yeah, I think the key for Weaver, and like a lot of pitchers who lose a little bit off the fastball, you don't make mistakes with it on the plate where guys can hurt you.
Right.
Curveball fouled away.
But he knows how to pitch. Very deceptive. You know, you got flying body parts all over. 6'7", he's slender. You got elbows, you got legs, and he's tough out of that full windup.
Pitch outside, a full count. Now, much like the problem the Indians had last night against Max Scherzer, he gave up a 5-run inning. He's only given up 5 runs in 2 starts this year. That's the most he's allowed in any start. He allowed 5 runs to Texas back on April the 7th, and he gave up 5 runs to the Yankees on June 16th.
Well, the thing of it is, though, if you can get him out of the game, make him throw a lot of pitches. You don't have to get all 5 against him, but you could certainly make him work extra hard and get into that bullpen.
Breaking ball, strike 3 called. Bourne thought it was ball 4. Instead, he'll head back to the dugout. 1 away.
Big slow hook. Bourne thought it was upstairs. We come down and it looks like it hits right on the outside corner. It comes down. Michael wanted the call, didn't get it. There goes the bat, but he'll go back to the dugout. Strikeout number 1.
And now Nick Swisher. Swisher taking a strike. Nick, 3 hits and 15 at-bats on the homestand to this point. Fouled out of play. Hit foul. No balls, 2 strikes. Here in the first inning, the Indians down 5-0. Jason Kipnis waiting on deck. Hit pretty well, deep center field. Trout on the move, and he's there in a hurry to grab it 2 away.
Check that Angels defense today. They are rated last in the league. They have made 85 errors. It's Shuck in left, Trout in center, Cowgill in right. It's Nelson at third, Ibar at short, Green is at second, Trumbo at first, Iannetta behind the plate.
Down low, ball 1. That's called a strike. It looked like it was outside. 1-1. The Angels made Jared Weaver a #1 pick back in '04 out of Long Beach State. Hit in the air to center field. Back goes Trout. The Indians go 1-2-3. And after one, it's the Angels 5, the Indians nothing. Angels with a 5-0 lead. J.B. Shuck will lead off for the Angels. He led off the game with a base hit, came around to score in the first. J.B. Shuck, a native of Galion, Ohio. Played high school baseball and basketball for the Galion Tigers. Told me he played football early in his high school career, but he said at one point I was bigger than the lineman, and I thought I might want to think about a different way to make a living down the road. I think he chose wisely. Went on to Ohio State, played for the Buckeyes. He's got a lot of friends and family in attendance here tonight.
Well, he's got to be in his glory. Leading off the ball game and led off with a base hit.
Down low. Interestingly enough, JB went to Ohio State, and as a freshman, he led the team in ERA as a pitcher. But eventually, found his way to the outfield, where that was the ticket for him to play professionally. Broken bat bouncer to third. Chisenhall unloads in a hurry to get him. By a whisker, one away. Our stat of the game brought to you by your Northern Ohio Buick dealers. 5 or more run innings this year. That's been done 14 times by this Angels club.
Yeah, Oakland tied with them. They put, like, I think 3 or 4 in Toronto on in the first. They made a road trip, so the West Coast team's coming east and scoring early.
Colin Cowgill singled and scored in the first. Broken bat job, but it blooped in, and he was able to turn it into a run. 2-1 pitch. That'll even the count. The Indians have played very well against the American League Western Division, going 16-4 overall. They haven't lost a game at home to a team from the West, but they are going to be tested tonight, down 5 early. Matt Albers, who was up in the first inning in the bullpen, is staying loose just in case here in the second. Already 50 pitches for Kazmir.
Yeah. Well, as we know, too, Matty's, that anytime you give up a big inning like this early, you certainly have to put zeros on the board until your offense can come back.
Strikes out Cowgill, 2 down. Injury report brought to you by Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. The Angels have a ton of guys down, and Howie Kendrick is not on the DL but could potentially be headed there. He collided with one of his teammates on the field the other day, and he's got a banged-up left knee. Of course, Albert Pujols, that tear in his foot, plantar fasciitis. Peter Borges, a flyer in the outfield, also down on the DL. Strike to the outside corner as Mike Trout looks at it.
He walked on a very close 3-2 pitch in his first at-bat.
They could have had him out twice in that inning.
Yeah.
Ripped foul. I mean, it was very close to being strike 3. It was very close to him being out trying to steal third, but both times the call went his way. Breaking ball and a beauty. That'll end the inning. The Angels go 1-2-3. Third strikeout for Kazmir. Now we'll see if the Indians can get the bats going. Is brought to you by McDonald's, now introducing 3 exciting new Quarter Pounders, and by Kia. Well, let's see if the Indians can get the rally going offensively. Work cut out for them against Jared Weaver, as Drupal Cabrera will lead off the second. And a pitch in there for a strike. And a breaking ball hit high in the air, slicing, foul, and just out of play. Just a month ago, Jared Weaver's wife, Kristen, gave birth to the couple's first child. And the boy was named Aiden David. And the first name was a tribute to his former teammate and close friend, Nick Aidenhart, who died tragically at the age of just 22 back in 2009 when he was in a car accident struck by a drunken driver. And Weaver still will scrawl out Aidenhart's initials on the mound in the dirt before he takes the mound for every start.
Yeah, I remember when that happened. What a huge blow it was to that organization, to the family, to all of baseball, really.
2-2 pitch. Ripped. Oh, what a catch by Trumbo as he takes a hit and probably extra bases away from Cabrera. Trumbo's a big guy, and he used all of his frame to snare that one.
Well, Cabrera hit it on the nose. He's been hitting some balls very hard and hasn't had a whole lot of luck or anything to show for it. You certainly want to see that ball drop, as you mentioned. It's probably an extra base hit, but they snag it. Goes down as out number one, the old Adam ball.
Now up comes Michael Brantley. Brantley's hit in 5 straight games. You saw the wide shot there, the third baseman Nelson in on the grass at third, though Brantley, he's not much of a bunter, if at all.
No, they just come in there until he gets 2 strikes just to take it away from him or even think about it.
He launches this one to deep right field. Back is Cowgill looking up. It is gone! Michael Brantley, home run number 8, gets the Indians on the board here in the 2nd inning. You can take away the bunt.
Can't take that away.
No, you can't.
I mean, he hit that ball well. Low. I bet this pitch is down, knee high, middle of the plate, and he tried to sneak that fastball by him, and it didn't work. No stride, just quick hands. Line drive, gets it into the first row. The kid made a nice catch right there on the baseball, and the Indians are on the board with 1 hit.
9th home run of the year allowed by Weaver.
That's all right. You like to get on the board there. Now, swing a little of that momentum.
Sometimes those leadoff homers don't lead to much. Sometimes they do. You always say, if you're going to give up homers, let them be solo shots.
Right.
But occasionally we've seen it with the Indians where that solo homer is exactly what gets them going.
It helps.
Santana took one right down the slot for a strike. Carlos finishing up that Tigers series, just 2 for 16. Bounces it right at Green, the second baseman, 2 away. Well, the Indians, obviously, everybody's wondering how will they bounce back after that 4-game sweep at the hands of the Tigers. With more on that, here's Katie Witham.
Well, Matt, Jason Giambi held a team meeting in the clubhouse right as the game ended against the Tigers last night. His message was to reinforce that there's a lot of baseball left to be played. There's a lot of baseball left in this game, Matt, as well. But when I was in the clubhouse today and spoke with Giambi about that, he just said that these guys are positive and they know that not only can they still gain ground in the division, but they can also still be in there for that wild card spot.
No doubt about it. Giambi awaits the 0-1, a swing and a miss, nothing into the count. I think when you look at it, it's a veteran player who took the moment to just let everybody know all is not lost and don't hang your heads. 0-2 pitch, up high.
Well, the quicker you can get that series out of your mind, the better off you'll be. You have to get back to just
Well, that's a great point. You don't want that to linger.
No, you can't let it hang around. And that's where the veterans can come in, and they'll erase that, where it may have a hangover on younger players.
Sure, I mean, you're in there, you gave it your best shot, and you got smoked.
You can't feel sorry for yourself. You got to come out here and be the aggressors in this ball game, and it certainly didn't help. Casimir gave up 5 in the first. But now they have to battle. They've got to put zeros on the board and come back and score. They're on the board now. You're down 4. Now you just got to keep pecking away and get back into it.
2 balls, 2 strikes, the count for Giambi.
You know, there's that old saying in baseball, there's always tomorrow.
High pop. Will it stay in play? Cowgill over near the stands. He tried to climb the railing, but he would have needed a ticket to make that catch. Only for the paying customers that time.
He's got to buy a ticket if he wants to go any deeper.
The 2-2. Outside. Full count. Boy, you know, Rick, with this shift, I don't think I recall a right fielder being shifted over as much as Cowgill is. I mean, he's
on a dead
really over there. Yeah.
Well, because Weaver doesn't throw that hard. And even if he's trying to get inside, you know, he's going to pull it no matter what. Like that.
Yeah.
If you could put him in the seats, they probably would let him.
Here, kid, here's a ticket. Row 13, section 285. Get up there.
Get a scout's ticket, but it'll be down the right field line. If he does do anything, he'll cue one, and it might go to left or down the third baseline. Look at that. Right at him.
He has to dive, and he makes the catch. A nice play by Cowgill. And so that defensive alignment pays off for the Angels. The inning is over. The Indians are on the board. They trail at 5-1. Angels lead it, 3rd inning. Mark Trumbo will lead off for L.A. Mark Trumbo delivered a 2-run single in the first that got the Angels rolling. And he smashes one high in the air. Deep center field. Bourne is back onto the track. And he's got it, one away. The AT&T U-verse rewind. Let's go back to the first inning. There's Trumbo with a 2-run single. And then Josh Hamilton with 1 out. Got a fastball and crushed it for a 3-run homer. That's all 5 runs in inning 1 for L.A. Chris Nelson struck out in the first. Hits this one off the end of the bat, but it carries pretty well. Deep left, back is Brantley onto the track. 2 away. There's the the trivia question tonight, brought to you by AT&T. 3 players since 1940 have had 240 or more hits in a season. We'll have the answer coming up later in the game. Josh Hamilton takes a fastball for a strike. Even though he came in 2 for his last 25, not surprising, I guess, that Hamilton homered in the first. He owns a career .304 batting average against the Tribe. Now 12 homers and 38 ribbies. And that's, well, he's batting .373 in the 19 games he's played here in Cleveland. It's his highest average of any road park. Kazmir with a 2-2 count. In the air, deep center. Bourne back. He's there. He's got it. And Kazmir has set down 8 straight. Indians down by 4 as we go to the bottom of the third. Cold one tonight to stay tuned later in the game for Miller Time, brought to you by Miller Lite. Lonnie Chisenhall, Jan Gomes, Michael Bourne for the Tribe here in the third. Line drive, and that's a base hit. Cut off by Shuck. And Chisenhall has a leadoff single here in the third.
Well, there's a nice approach there. Staying on Weaver on a pitch down, away. Good swing to get a base hit. That's the way to start your night right there. So the leadoff man aboard here in the third. See if they can take advantage of it.
Up comes Jan Gomes. Takes a fastball for a strike. And the count quickly 0-2 now for Gomes, who's batting .302 with 8 homers, 28 runs batted in on the year. Bounced in front of the plate. Nice block by Iannetta. And after what the Angels have been through the last couple of games with regards to opposing base runners, you wonder if they're a little skittish right now.
They should be. Giving up over 100 stolen bases on the year, and their pitchers, they say that Weaver's been doing a better job this year. He's a big guy, 6'7", so he is trying to quicken that delivery up, but Chisenhall not a base stealer by any means.
One away as Gomes fouls out, pops it up into foul territory behind the bag at first. Our Firestone Complete Auto Care Extra Mile Index. Among active leaders, Jared Weaver right behind Roy Halladay in winning percentage. Weaver has never had a losing record in the big leagues. He went 13-7. I should say he went 11-2 his rookie year. Then he went 13-7, 11-10, 16-8, 13-12, 18-8, 20-5. And now 6-5 this year.
Has a no-hitter in there as well.
Yep.
He missed 45 games this year from April 9th through May 29th. Was drilled in the left arm by a baseball. That's certainly not the way you want to start your year out. He's been able to come back, but still doesn't have a win on the road. As I mentioned, 0-3 this year.
He's 3-1 to Michael Bourne. And off the end of the bat foul. You talk about Weaver, and back in 2010, which isn't all that long ago, he was the strikeout leader, punched out 233 batters. Last year, his strikeout total dipped all the way to 142.
Well, he's not the power guy. He's almost better if he gets you to put it in play.
Mm-hmm.
He'll stay in that game a little longer. You don't have to strike anybody out.
Deep center, but back is Trout to run it down. 2 away.
Well, the Indians will continue this series with the Angels tomorrow, and the fans will be treated to another encore Rock and Blast fireworks show. And also, the first 10,000 fans through the gates will receive a Rocky Colavito plaque, both courtesy of Progressive Insurance. Just log on to Indians.com and get your tickets. Have the luncheon tomorrow for Rocky over at the Terrace Club, celebrating his 80th birthday.
Nick Swisher fly to center, his first and only time up. Nick Swisher takes a strike, fly to center. Back in the first inning, and the Indians got their leadoff man aboard here in the third, but Weaver quickly getting the next 2 outs. One and two on Nick Swisher now. Line drive, base hit into center field. Chisenhall on his way to third. Mike Trout's throw is not in time, and Swisher alertly goes into second base.
I like that. Like that right there.
And this throw might have hit Lonnie Chisenhall and carried him away from Nelson at third base, but Trout really didn't have a shot at him, and by going for it, he allows Swisher to get to second base.
Well, you're right. There are 2 outs, but I love the swing. Nick Swisher starting to make this swing every night now. He stayed back on a breaking ball on that pitch and hits it to left center field. And when you know you don't really have a chance, sometimes you fall in love with your arm. You have a 5-run lead. That wasn't a good time to make that throw. Just throw it to second, give third base. But with 2 outs, you just take away the force play.
Oh, now a base hit gets the Indians 2 more runs.
You give a chance to get them 1 more run, then they'd be right back in the game.
This could be huge right here for Kipnis to come up with a big 2-out knock. Jason, a .299 hitter with runners in scoring position on the year. Little dribbler towards first. And the inning is over. Indians strand a pair in scoring position, and after 3, it's 5-1 Angels. Bottom third of the Angels order due up here. Ibar, Iannetta, and Green. Kazmir seems to have settled in. He's retired 8 straight. Apparently Terry Francona's not sold on Kazmir just yet, though. After he gave up that 5-run first, Albers was up in the second, up in the third, and he's up again here in the fourth, just in case. Let's go downstairs and check in with Katie Witham.
Hey, Matt, I'm hanging out with executive chef Ed Machowski here at the ballpark in the Terrace Club. We've got some of the finest local meat that you can get your hands on. Make sure to come up here and check it out. But the new thing, 4th floor Terrace Club Pub, now open to the public. If you haven't been up there, come on up, get a drink, get a bite to eat, and it's a great spot to watch the game.
All right, thanks a lot, Katie. Jan Gomes goes out to talk to Casimir. Looks like some pretty good grub right there. Don't be afraid to bring a plate back for us,
Well,
Katie.
that's up on the 4th floor. No, we'll have to call Ed and have him send a couple down.
I think we got a couple of guys throwing now in the Indians bullpen. And here comes Terry Francona.
Yeah, he must see something, or he knows something that's going on. That's why he kept his bullpen going. Something that we certainly don't know about.
You wonder, is it physical? That's it. He is done. Just 63 pitches into the game tonight. And Scott Casimir's night is over. Today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen. Matt Albers coming on when we come back. Five off Casimir in the first inning, and then he retired 8 straight. Gave up a leadoff single here to Ibar in the 4th, and then Terry Francona goes to the bullpen.
Well, he never really set the bullpen down, as you made a point.
Exactly. Albers was up. So that tells you that they know something isn't quite right with Casimir tonight.
Right. And, I was watching him in between innings throw, and he was like, he wasn't throwing, to get loose before the inning started. He was just lobbing them in. So I don't know. There's got to be something wrong. Matt Albers coming in.
Yeah, Matt Albers. Now, understand, Albers is in, but Carlos Carrasco, who was called up before the game, as Preston Guillemette was sent right back to AAA Columbus. Carlos Carrasco's up in the bullpen now. He would be the more logical long man,
right?
Because Albers pitched two innings last night.
Yes, he did.
But it may be a case where Terry wants to get out of this inning, and then maybe we'll see Carrasco after that. We will wait and see how this eventually plays out. Chris Iannetta flied out his only time up. Runner takes off. Ibar bolts for second. Gomes throw. Got him. What a throw by Jan Gomes. Boy, he has been something to watch behind the dish this year.
He has been a treat to watch throw the baseball. He had Trout at third. But the ply wasn't tagged, and now this is going to be our McDonald's. I'm loving it. And on a low sinker, you can't make a better throw than that. Right on the money. Kipnis has applied the tag and nailed him. So he is 1 for 2 tonight.
He's thrown out 12 out of 21, I believe.
He is fun to watch, isn't he? Quick feet, get rid of it. Right on the money.
Yep, 12 out of 21. That is sensational. Chris Iannetta with a 2-0 count now. Right field, Swisher has it measured perfectly. 2 down. Crazy thing sometimes being a reliever, and especially a reliever if you're not the, say, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning guy. If you're not one of those three guys, you never know when your number's going to get called. You never know how often it's going to get called. You might go through a stretch where the Indians just went through where their starters were going deep. You were pitching with the lead. You may go a while without getting anywhere. And then you might be Matt Albers, where one night you're going 2 innings, and the next night you're up in the 3rd inning, the 4th inning, and you're in the ball game again.
And he's pitched 2 out of the last 3 nights, so it runs in cycles. With the starters, if you remember, at one point the bullpen was getting used and taxed a lot, and that's when they were struggling. When the starters, before they got on their roll. But there you go. There you see it. Trainer Jeff Desjardins is talking to Scotty Kazmir right there sitting on the bench. So I don't know if anything's wrong with him. But he wasn't scheduled to pitch tonight. Didn't they bump him back and supposedly was originally going to pitch Saturday?
Before Corey Kluber got hurt.
Right.
They were going to, I believe, skip him in the rotation, right?
Oh, I got you.
Give him an extra full turn through. Is that right? Or maybe an extra day. I don't know. I seem to have lost track here with the drama in the rotation when Kluber went down and Danny Salazar.
He was going to make the start anyway on Wednesday. They announced that where Ubaldo was going to pitch on Friday, and then I thought Kazmir Saturday, and they flip-flopped him.
Yeah.
But I don't know what a difference a day would make like that.
Grant Green lined to right, his first time up. And a 3-2 count here. Albers throws it by him, strikes him out to end the inning. So Jan.
Fouled it off.
Oh, he didn't come up with that. I thought he did. Didn't stick, huh?
Fouled it off into the glove, but it did
I thought
come
he
out.
caught it. Oh, it did. It just dropped right out. Hits himself with that foul ball. It stays 3-2 with the bases empty and 2 down here in the 4th. And the Indians down 5-1. Reached for it, pulls it, foul, third base side. This will be the 9th pitch of the at-bat for the number 9 hitter, Grant Green. Well, he walks him, keeps the inning alive. Turn it over now to the top of the order. America's new sports network is almost here. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for live sports. Shows like The Crowd Goes Wild, Fox Football Daily, Fox Sports Live. The news and highlight shows fans have been waiting for. America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1, premieres August 17th. J.B. Shuck singled and scored in the first, grounded out his last time up. Takes a called strike. Mike Sosha has really taken to J.B. Shuck. He really praised him a lot by saying he's a guy that understands his game, much like David Eckstein did. He uses his speed, he plays hard, he gets the bunt down when we need him to, he runs the bases well. He's done everything you expect of a guy really getting his first full look of playing every day. He's giving us a boost of energy that you can see on the field. He's doing very well. High praise from the guy who leads your club.
Sosha's kind of guy.
Yeah.
Guy that just, he plays hard, leaves it all between the lines. I'll tell you, when you used to play the Angels, you knew you were in. You better make every play. They're going to run you or try to run you out of the ballpark.
Pitch out, nothing doing. Plus, there was a time there, a pretty long stretch, where they never beat themselves. They played fundamentally defense sound, hit the cutoff men, didn't make mistakes like that.
Case in point, last year they made 78 errors as a team. This year they already have 85. They're last in the league. So, I mean, they were always a much better defensive club than they are right now. Pitching-wise, their bullpen is atrocious. They don't know who's going to close. And that's what happens, boy, when you sign the big deals to some of those players. You Pujols a couple of years ago, and then it was Hamilton this year, and you run out of money for the pitching staff.
You end up having to cut corners somewhere, right?
Yes, you do. There's only so many people you can pay.
Runner goes, and a foul ball by Shuck.
Well, let him keep running, because with the guy they have behind home plate, he should have thrown out 2 tonight. He's got 1 out of 2. That's a nice weapon for you right there. A guy that can, with a cannon, and it's accurate. As a pitcher, when you have a guy behind the plate like that, you just consciously make an effort to just give him an opportunity. If the guy steals a base, then it's an excellent base stealer, or he gets it off the pitcher.
Two balls, 2 strikes. Scott Kazmir lifted after 1 batter here in the 4th inning. He had retired 8 straight before giving up the leadoff single to Ibar. 2-2. And a full count. Runner goes on the 3-2 pitch, and a swing and a miss. Albers perseveres, gets the strikeout. We'll go to the bottom of the 4th. Indians down 5-1. FoxSportsOhio.com. Is Brandon Whedon finally in the right system? 5 things we learned from the Browns win last night, and see Kent State's Dree Archer challenged in a foot race. Oh, I want to see that. This guy, have you seen this guy play, Arch? He can fly.
No.
One of the most exciting players in the Mid-American Conference, and in that Kent State offense, boy, they got him all over the field. You never know where he's coming from, and he's exciting to watch. Bottom of the 4th inning, as Asdrubal Cabrera will lead it off. He had a bullet to first base his first time up. Mark Trumbo snared it, took extra bases away from him. Two balls and a strike. And a count now 3-1. Michael Brantley waiting next. Indians trying to claw their way back in it. The homer by Brantley got him on the board in the second after the Angels jumped him for 5 in the first. There's a long fly ball to deep right field. Wave goodbye. Way out of here is Asdrubal Cabrera. His 9th home run of the year. The Indians' 2nd solo shot of the game. And it's now a 5-2 score. No doubt about it, shot by Cabrera. Well, I told you he was robbed by Trumbo his first time up. He hit this one where nobody could take it away.
Well, he jumped on a Weaver fastball that he elevated in the strike zone, and when you're throwing 86, 87, you better get it on the edges or above the strike zone, and there it was, belled high, and it looked like it was right down the middle, and Cabrera took advantage of it. So the Indians draw one closer and make it a 5-2 game. Both their runs coming on solo home runs. Cabrera's, Brantley's was back in the second.
And now Michael Brantley takes ball 1. It's great to get your leadoff man aboard. Better yet, to get him on and score him right away like that.
Get him over and get him in all in one swing.
Get yourself on, get yourself over, get yourself in.
The only thing that doesn't count is with a hit with a runner in scoring position, so you drive yourself in. Well, now you go. There's. Keep on attacking.
Curveball and a good one. The tantalizer.
Well, that's a tough one to hit because it starts off the plate and it just stays out there. But it's so slow. The best you can do is roll over on it. You know, that to me, that's outside. You're not going to. Yeah. Michael's not going to swing at that. He may try and foul it off on this pitch.
The 2-2. He swung and missed at that one. Second strikeout for Weaver, 1 down in the 4th.
Well, you might want to bring the whole family out for a KeyBank Kids Fun Day. That's each and every Sunday home game the rest of this year. There are plenty of activities out on the plaza for the kids. They get to run the bases after the ball game. It is presented by the Cleveland Clinic. They'll log on to Indians.com for your tickets.
Carlos Santana takes ball 1. Santana grounded out his first and only time up.
You know, I don't think Weaver's as sharp as he's been because in his last 8 starts, Matt, he's allowed 2 home runs. He's allowed 2 tonight. And we're in the 4th inning. And he is, look at he looks a little perplexed.
Well, his pitch count's getting up there, too, closing in on 70 for the night.
That's what you want to do. I said, get into that bullpen.
Line drive, base hit for Santana.
Santana got on top of a high pitch there. See, there's the difference between a guy throwing 87, 88 than there is a guy throwing 94, because on that pitch you may foul it back if it's high 94. But when it's 88, you can get on top of it and put it in play. Santana does just that, and the Indians have their 5th hit.
Now Jason Giambi coming up. Now Giambi had a lengthy at bat his first time up, and he barreled one up, but he hit it right at the right fielder, Colin Cowgill. Outside for ball 1. And Chris Iannetta is going to go out. And as you pointed out, he just seems, I don't know if unnerved is the right word, but he seems agitated. And Mike Butcher probably sees the same thing from the dugout, so he's going to go out and have a chat.
We've seen Weaver pitch enough to know that when he's locked in, he just gets it and let's go. He's not working as quickly. He's just not on his. He doesn't have his A game tonight. He has to work his way through this ball game right now. So to me, that looks good for the Indians.
Well, and Rick, from experience, down there in that dugout, you can sense that, right?
Oh yeah, you get a feeling like, come on, boys, get a couple base runners. We'll get them. We'll get them. You just keep up there and get. And they've hit some balls right on the nose. A couple of guys have been robbed of base hits, so you just keep right on digging.
More chatter in a game like this when a guy's dealing awfully quiet, probably down there in that dugout.
Well, they've seen some very good guys. The last 4 games that were pitching very well. They know you can sense when you have an opportunity to get a guy, and when you get opportunities, you have to take advantage.
Let's see if Jason Giambi can keep it rolling here. Down low, 2-0.
Yeah, he's not commanding that changeup tonight. It's an awfully good pitch for him. But again, that changeup comes off of controlling your fastball, spotting that fastball, and that's something he hasn't been able to do because his fastball, he has left middle of the plate.
That just did shave the corner, and he may have benefited a couple of times tonight from generous strike zone calls.
Well, Kerwin Danley tonight has been generous with the high strike. He hasn't been generous with the low strike, but he gets one there.
Cued off the end of the bat to third. Nelson goes to second for 1, on to first, a double play, and it ends the inning. So the Indians let him off the hook. They do get another run home, and after 4, it's 5-2. Only from AT Uverse, rethink possible. And by your local Toyota dealers. Toyota, let's go places. Once again, the Tribe goes to the bullpen. Today's Cleveland Clinic call to the bullpen is for Carlos Carrasco, just called up today. Preston Gilmet, who worked in last night's game out of the bullpen, sent back to AAA Columbus. So Carrasco back with the big league club. He'll try to give the bullpen some rest, try to give the Indians some length, but most importantly, he's got to put up some zeros. It has been a disappointing year for Carlos Carrasco. They had high hopes for him. Remember, he had the suspension hanging over his head from last year.
Not once, but twice.
This is his 4th stint this year. And there's just no getting around it. He hasn't pitched well. He has the talent, the ability. Can he put it all together? I think a big part of his problem, too, has been whatever you want to call it, whether it's immaturity, lack of professionalism, he's got to learn how to handle failure at times, because that's when he's gotten into trouble, when he's given up home runs, he's given up a big inning. That shows up, and it costs him. And then it costs his team because of the resulting suspensions or whatever it happens.
I call it mental toughness is what he has to develop. He has the stuff. I mean, and you see it in baseball, and you've seen it a long time. If you have the stuff and it just doesn't translate into being successful at the big leagues, there's something wrong with you. I mean, mentally, he has the stuff.
He put Colin Cowgill away in a hurry, and the stuff plays. And just see why right there, the fastball, the breaking ball. He's got the package. Well, last night, about the only bright spot in the game was Ryan Rayburn coming in late in the ball game, giving the bullpen a breather. His first inning as a pitcher, 1-2-3 with a strikeout. He said afterwards, well, at least now I can say I pitched in the big leagues. He also joked, might have to call his agent, renegotiate his contract because he's a two-way player now.
Yeah, you could brag that you had a 1-2-3 inning. You made it look easy. You threw strikes, and you can see covering first base. He was an athlete. But you know what? When in games like that, they're blowouts, and you see it from time to time, and you see some athletes can go up there. That's when you get American League pitchers that always talk that they can hit, and then they finally get into a National League park, and you find out if they can or not. But he represented himself very well last night on the mound.
Trout fouling it off of his foot. He'll need a minute to gather himself. So Yan Gomes goes out to talk with Carrasco while they chat it over. Here's Katie Witham with more on Ryan Rayburn.
Well, guys, like you said, obviously it wasn't ideal to have Rayburn pitching in the 9th last night, but what it did was it saved the bullpen. And some of his teammates told me in the clubhouse today that it just showed the type of person and teammate that Ryan Rayburn is, the fact that he went out there. Now, a side note, guys, the last time Rayburn pitched was when he was in high school. And Terry Francona did joke today he will not be available out of the pen today.
And I'm sure, as far as Ryan is concerned, he hopes he's not available ever again. Trout strikes out, and Carrasco comes out throwing very well, striking out the first 2 that he has faced.
There's a nice slider down and away that retires Trout. That had a very good bite to it. So 2 up, 2 down, both of them strikeouts.
Mark Trumbo, 2-run single in the first, flied to deep center his last time up. Back out of play. Out of play again. It's 0-2. Carrasco trying to make it a 1-2-3 5th inning. He's got Trumbo down on the count 0-2. 98 miles an hour he hits on the radar gun with a fastball, and just a tad outside, and it was close, but he didn't get the call. He reached for that one. Weekly punches it towards second. Kipnis throws him out. A 1-2-3 fifth inning for Carlos Carrasco. And we'll go to the bottom of the fifth with the Tribe down 3. The Indians down 5-2, bottom of the fifth inning. Big crowd starting to make their way into the ballpark. They've been trickling in all night here. Weekend series kicking off, and Lonnie Chisenhall leads off the bottom of the fifth. Tribe down 3, trying to continue to whittle away against Jared Weaver. And they were down 5-zip before they came to bat. That kind of play.
They've done what they've had to do so far. 4 zeros on the board for the Angels to follow. And they've been able to put 2 on the board, so they have to continue.
And Chisenhall out looking. Third strikeout for Weaver, 1 down here in the fifth. Let's go back to the Hyundai Studios for an in-game update with Al Pulowski.
Hey, Matt, Rick, the Oakland A's tonight have hit 4 home runs already against the Blue Jays, 2 of those by Josh Reddick. They chased Ismael Rogers after 3 innings. He gave up 7 of the 9 runs they've scored. It's 9-3. Oakland over Toronto. They're in the 5th inning at Rogers Center. Matt?
All right, thanks, Al. Here is Yan Gomes, fouled out his only time up. Breaking ball, fouled away. Takes up high. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
That's 9-0-2, 1-2 counts for Weaver on the night.
A little bit outside. 2-2. Interesting in that Gomes took that first fastball right down the slot, then swung at the curveball and fouled it out of play. And now he's taken a couple of fastballs that have been just out of the strike zone. Grounds that one behind the bag at third. Long throw for Nelson. Dug out by Trumbo. 2 away.
Well, the Indians will play the Twins. We come back. It'll be Friday, August 23rd, 7:05 start. It'll be Dollar Dog Night. And then after the game, it'll be fireworks set to the Blues Brothers. That'll be the theme that night. Minnesota Twins in town, August 23rd.
Michael Bourne rung up in the first, applied to deep center in the third. And he takes strike one. Weaver seems to be right back on track after he was wobbling a little bit in that fourth inning. Bouncer to first. Trumbo's going to have to hurry, and he beats Bourne to the bag. The Indians go quickly and quietly here in the fifth. It remains 5-2 Angels. Goria and the Rays travel to Los Angeles to battle Yasiel Puig and the National League Western Division leading Dodgers. Fox Saturday Baseball begins tomorrow at 3:30 Eastern Time. Here in the sixth inning, the Tribe down 5-2. Chris Nelson, Josh Hamilton, Eric Ibar due up for the Angels. Carlos Carrasco worked a 1-2-3 fifth inning. Fastball for strike one. Good off-speed pitch. Nothing into the count. He's got command of a very good slider tonight, and that complements his fastball very well.
Well, he can simplify things maybe coming out of that bullpen. Concentrate on two pitches and throw them both for strikes.
Hit on the ground to first. Gobbled up by Santana. One away. Our in-game recap brought to you by your local Toyota dealers. Mark Trumbo with a 2-run single in that first inning. And then Josh Hamilton, bam, a 3-run homer made it a 5-run first for the Halos. The Indians have come back with a pair of solo shots. Michael Brantley in the second, as Drupal Cabrera in the fourth to cut it to 5-2. Hamilton takes outside ball one. Good off-speed pitch. Boy, did you see how far out in front he was? 1-1 the count. He was looking for another fastball.
If you want to catch up to that heater, you got to turn up the dial. I mean, if you're guessing heater and he throws you that breaking ball, you are going to be out in front. Another good heater.
Low, right at the knees, too. 1-2 the count. $14 out of 17 pitches for strikes so far for Carrasco, and the breaking ball a little bit low. He evens the count of 2-2. One with a fastball in just off the plate. And now a full count. Fights off the slider, stays alive.
Send out our birthday wishes tonight. Donald Riccardi of Seven Hills is turning 83. Happy birthday, Donald.
Goes with the fastball, and Hamilton again just fights it off at 97 miles an hour. Three-two pitch. And he walks him. First base runner to reach against Carrasco. With one out here in the sixth inning, it will bring up Eric Ibar. Ibar already 2 for 2 on the night. Smashed foul, first base side.
This guy loves the ball down and in. You may think you can get it by him in there, but he is awfully quick in there.
Ground ball to second base. Kipnis goes to Cabrera, kicks the bag, throws to first, double play. And now is Cabrera okay? Was there contact made? He goes to a knee behind second base, and he is slow to get up and get off the field. Dribble Cabrera being helped off the field, it almost looked like either something got in his eye or perhaps a contact maybe. I don't know if he wears contacts, to be honest with you, but it's kind of befuddling. He took the throw from Kipnis, kicked the bag. There was no contact on the play, so unless maybe some dirt flew up and caught him in the eye, it's hard to tell. But, I mean, he had a tough time getting off the field.
Huh.
He's due up third, so we're going to find out real quick. As Nick Swisher fouls it back out of play. Swisher singled in the third. Indians down 5-2. Weaver just over 80 pitches on the night, 53 for strikes. Swisher hits one towards center field. Can't get one past that guy. One away.
We'll get a Nick Swisher replica jersey and enjoy fireworks on August 24th. The Indians will host the Twins. First 10,000 fans will receive a jersey courtesy of Kia Motors, and post-game fireworks will be set to U2. We'll go to Indians.com. That's a Swisher jersey on the 24th of August. Tell you what, that was a good swing by Nick right there, even though he made it out.
Well, if you saw that shot in our dugout, you saw Mike Aviles had the batting helmet on, had his batting gloves ready to go, and then as Dribble Cabrera popped up out of the up to the top steps, so he is going to bat here, and he's back and ready to go. Whatever it was, whether it was a contact issue or maybe he just needed to get some water flushed through that eye, whatever it was, he's back and he's ready. Kipnis lines one toward left center field, and that's in the gap. Cut off by Trout. Kipnis turning, running hard for second. Here's the slide to throw. He is saved. Kipnis beats the tag of Green. It's a one-out double.
Well, he certainly challenged him right there. He thought it was going to be in the gap, and Trout does a nice job to cut it off. And he gets over there and makes a nice strong throw, but the hustle of Jason Kipnis. He gets in there just in time. Watch the throw, one hopper, here it comes. He gets the hand down right when the ball arrives. It'll go as a double. So both these left-handers, Swisher and now Kipnis, you can see he just got the hand in. Bang, bang play. The approach to Weaver right there, stay on the baseball.
Well, let's see if his Dribble Cabrera took care of the eye problem. There's a key at bat now. There's a line drive towards center field, but it's going to hang up, and Trout's going to make the grab. 2 away. Boy, Cabrera has hit the ball hard all 3 times tonight. He left the yard with a home run on the 4th. The other 2 have been caught.
Well, this time, this inning, they are staying on the baseball and using the big part of the field off Weaver. Everything has been hit on the nose.
Michael Brantley homered in the second, struck out his last time up. And a pitch outside, ball 1. High pop on the infield. The inning is over, and the one-out double does no damage. Another runner stranded in scoring position for the Tribe through 6, 5-2 Angels. To you by Panini's with 18 locations in Northeast Ohio. And by Levin. Beautiful evening here in downtown Cleveland. Look in from our Panini's cam, brought to you by Panini's Bar and Grill. Indians down 5-2 now. We're into the 7th inning. All 5 for the Angels came in the first. The only runs for the Tribe tonight, a pair of solo homers. One in the second by Michael Brantley. The other in the fourth by Asdrubal Cabrera. Chris Iannetta will lead off for the Angels. And Carlos Carrasco misses with a breaking ball. 2 scoreless innings of relief for Carrasco. He has struck out 2, walked 1. Fastball smashed to center field, a base hit. First hit allowed by Carrasco, and the Angels have their leadoff man aboard here in the 7th.
This ball rocketed off the bat right back where it came from, up the middle. Look at that. He had to throw it, and he gets out of the way.
Grant Green has lined out and walked. He squares, and the ball down and in.
Well, you can see what Mike Scioscia wants to do. If he's getting his 9th place hitter with the catcher on, to move him over just to maybe try and get one more extra run if he can.
He squares. He jabbed at it.
Yeah, that's a bad attempt right there.
Last time the Angels had their leadoff man aboard was in the 4th when Ibar singled, and then he was thrown out trying to steal second base.
Well, with another fastball. That was a bad bunt attempt the first time up. Yeah, he took it off. I don't blame him. You know, when you're hitting 9th at a big league lineup and, you know, you're asked to sacrifice, you better try and get the job done. Because if you got to take it off and you make an easy out, that's not going to bode well with your manager.
One down now, top of the order. Since 1940, 3 players have had 240 or more hits in a season.
Well, Ichiro. And I remember they used Darren Erstad, I think. And Wade Boggs.
AT&T trivia question. J.B. Shuck is 1 for 3 on the night. Singled and scored back in the first. Line on one hop to Cabrera, and they turn the double play. That ball was scorched, and it was still close at first, but the double play ends the inning. And Carrasco continues his strong pitching out of the bullpen tonight. 7th inning stretch brought to you by Spitzer Auto World. Life is hard, buying a car shouldn't be. 5-2. The Angels lead it. The Indians will send Santana, Giambi, and Chisenhall to the plate here in the 7th inning. Santana swings at the first pitch and a pop-up to center field. Easy play for Trout. 1 pitch, 1 out. Angels have made some changes defensively here in the 7th inning. Cowgill, who started the game in right field, I believe has gone to left. Yep. Giambi takes a curveball for a strike. And who's in right field now? Cole Calhoun. Out of play on the left side. Giambi lined to right back in the 2nd inning. And then he bounced into an inning-ending double play in the 4th. Two balls and 2 strikes. And Weekly bounced. Second base. 2 down. As promised earlier, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite. On this date in 1981, the All-Star Game at Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Morgana was there.
Look at Large Lenny on the mound. She runs out with the big man pitching.
I'll dig Big Dave Parker. Gary Carter going deep, though. He was the MVP, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Hit 2 home runs in that game.
The kid, Gary Carter. Lonnie Chisenhall 1 for 2 on the night. .3-0 pitch. And a strike called. Ripped foul and a full count. Now, just because Jared Weaver's at 100 pitches doesn't mean this is his final inning. He's gone as many as 118 this year, and the Angels have had some issues in their bullpen. So even if he gets Chisenhall here, he might come right back out for the 8th as well. He strikes him out for the 2nd time tonight. Indians go 1-2-3 yet again, and it's still 5-2 Angels. not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cleveland Indians.
Well, we go to the 8th inning, and Carlos Carrasco, with 3 scoreless innings of work under his belt, will stay on to pitch the 8th. He's given the Indians exactly what they needed coming out of their bullpen. Jared Weaver, meanwhile, looks like he'll be coming back to pitch the 8th.
Depending on what happens here, I guess. Cowgill, Trout, Trumbo due up for the Angels. Chopped to third on 1 pitch. Lonnie Chisenhall has it, throws, got him. 1 away. In-game box score brought to you by your local Hyundai dealers. Everything for the Angels came in the first inning. It was a bad start for Scott Kazmir. They jumped on him for 5 runs on 5 hits in the first inning. 2-run single by Trumbo, 3-run homer by Hamilton. That's been it. They've had 2 hits since the first inning. Angels do have activity in the bullpen. We'll have to wait and see if that's somebody that's up just in case or if perhaps Weaver's night is over. Mike Trout, a couple of strikeouts. But he walked on a very close pitch in that first inning. Looked like it might have been strike 3. It was called ball 4. He would eventually steal a base on a play that looked like he was out, but the tag might have missed him. And then came around to score in that first inning. 2-1. 3 balls and a strike. I don't know. That looked pretty good. It's called a ball 4. And 1 on, 1 out for Mark Trumbo. Let's go back to the Hyundai Studios once again for an in-game update with Al.
Hey, Matt, Detroit's 12-game winning streak in jeopardy tonight in New York. They got off to a late start thanks to a rain delay, but the Yankees are ahead 3-0. Robinson Cano, a 2 RBI double here in the 3rd. They're in the 4th inning now. The Yankees behind Nova have the lead against Detroit and Porcello. Matt?
Thanks, Al. Boy, that other game you updated on us earlier. Wow, Oakland is just tattooing Toronto. 12-3 A's in the 6th. They've had 14 hits in that game. Josh Reddick has homered 3 times in that game for Oakland. Runner goes.
Waste no time, huh?
Close play. He's safe. Trout with his 26th steal of the year. Nice throw by Gomes.
Well, it was a good pitch, too. It was a strike, good pitch to throw on, just a little high.
Yeah.
Just a
little. That was awfully close,
I
too.
know, just a little bit high. If it was down a little, he would have had him, but it was still a good throw. That guy just sometimes outruns the baseball.
It's in the air, foul, and Swisher can't get to it. It's out of play.
Way outside. Kipnis comes in. He wants to tell Carrasco something. Swung on and missed. Got him to chase that pitch down in the dirt. Carrasco with his third strikeout and a big one there, 2 away. This season, one lucky fan will get a chance to join the Fox Sports Girls Fantasy Football League. Enter now at foxsports.com/fantasy draft for your chance to win a trip to L.A. for the live draft and to compete against the Fox Sports Girls this season. Chris Nelson 0 for 3. Swung on and missed. That slider tight, just off the outside corner. Outside corner, called strike. It's 0-2. He came with the 96-mile-an-hour express that time. Carrasco has shown a good fastball tonight to go along with a very tight slider, and he's been extremely effective. The 0-2 pitch. This is 4th inning of relief work. Swung out and missed. He struck him out. 4th strikeout for Carrasco. The bullpen has done their part. The bats will try to come back next. Conrad's Tire Express and Total Car Care. The highlights, analysis, reaction, interviews, a whole lot more. It's all straight ahead. Rick, who do we have coming on now for the Angels?
J.C. Gutierrez, who's coming on, who pitched in Kansas City earlier this year against the Indians a couple of times. has not been scored upon in 7 of his 8 games since joining the Angels. 35 and a third innings, 21 strikeouts this year. So the Indians now, you've got Gomes, and then you turn it over to the top of the lineup, Bourne and Swisher. Jared Weaver, 7 innings, 6 hits, a couple runs, didn't walk anybody, had 4 strikeouts. A couple of solo home runs, one by Brantley, another by Cabrera, but Jared Weaver, they hit a few balls hard off him, but he just kept them going with that slow curveball, the change-ups. There's a change-up, and he spotted the fastball, so he did a number tonight. The typical Jared Weaver, as I mentioned, coming into this game, he is 5-0 in his career in this ballpark. Tonight was start number 9 here. He's looking to go 6-0 unless the Indians' offense can mount a comeback.
Well, we'll see. We're going to find out if they've got something left in the tank offensively. Yan Gomes, Michael Bourne, Nick Swisher due up. And a fastball fouled right back. Juan Carlos Gutierrez, better known as JC, features a fastball. Slider. Might see a changeup. There's that breaking ball in there for a strike. It's 0-2.
Well, the important thing when you get to that bullpen, and they have had some issues in their bullpen this year, is you want to get that leadoff man aboard if possible.
Tighter pitch that time. That slider biting down and away. It's 1-2. And he lines one to right center field. That's in the alley. Calhoun and Trout converge. Trout cuts it off, holding him to a long leadoff single.
That's all right. It was a nice swing by Gomes. He got down into his zone where he likes it, and he drilled it to right center field. Good fastball, it looked like. There it was, down and away. Good swing. But, you know, that kid out there in center, you cut it off instead of that leadoff double. He holds you to a leadoff single, and that certainly helps because it keeps the double play in order.
Now Michael Bourne, who is 0 for 3 on the night. Trout playing him way over toward left center field. And smartly so, because Bourne hits a lot of balls in that direction.
Yeah, but now you have him out of the stretch, and you have that hole at first, in between first and second, with the man aboard. Late in the game, this has been their part of the ball game a lot of times this year in this ballpark.
1-1 to count. Good fastball up to 95 miles an hour. Down low, 2 balls and a strike. Mike Scioscia's club with a 3-run lead here in the 8th inning. The 2-1 out of play. Count even up, 2 balls, 2 strikes. In the air, deep left field. Back goes Cowgill. Onto the track. He pulls it down. 1 away. So Michael Bourne 0 for 4 tonight. And up comes Nick Swisher. Nick Swisher 1 for 3 in the game. Good off-speed pitch. Starts him out. Breaking ball. Strike one.
Well, when you face a guy you haven't really don't have a lot of history against, and if he throws that first pitch breaking ball, you spit on it. Not much you can do unless you have a track record against a guy and you know he may throw you that breaking ball first pitch.
Upstairs with a heater, 1-1. Gomes, the leadoff single. He's still standing at first. 1-1 to count on Nick Swisher. Down low with it, 2-1.
Would the bug get in Swisher's eye? He dropped his bat and jumped out of the batter's box. Are there bugs out there tonight that we're not seeing?
I don't think so.
There must be. There must be, because I watch him after he takes the pitch.
Yeah. Something flew right up in his eye. You're right.
There must be bugs out there that we cannot see.
The 2-1 count on Swisher. And a swing and a miss. That'll even it up. Well, the Angels have the bullpen ready should Gutierrez falter here in the 8th. There's a fly ball to left field. Back goes Cowgill. Onto the track. He pulls it down again. 2 away. And up comes Jason Kipnis. Revisiting the keys to the game from Akron Children's Hospital. Now Mike Trout, again, the Angels, everything in the first inning. 5 in the first. That's the game for them tonight. And they haven't been able to scratch much out against Jared Weaver. A couple of solo homers. In fact, Rick, the Indians only have 1 hit with a runner on base tonight.
Yeah, they scored via the home run ball, a couple of solo shots. They were sucker punched in the top half of the first.
And a bouncer to third. Nelson fell down. He gets up, still throws him out. And the inning is over. The Indians get their leadoff man aboard and can't do anything with it. We'll go to the 9th, 5-2 Angels. Ninth inning. Carlos Carrasco, who's done a terrific job coming out of the pen tonight, pitching 4 scoreless innings, will stay on for the ninth.
Well, the bullpen has done everything asked of them tonight. When you give up 5 in the first, you're asked to, just put zeros on the board until that offense can come back into it. They haven't been able to do it. Carrasco's throwing the ball well. Has a double play, has 4 strikeouts, has 2 double plays.
Yeah, Matt Albers pitched the scoreless 4th. He came in with a runner on base, and then Carrasco took over in the 5th, and he's been dynamite.
So, yeah, you got to score if you're going to come back, and they've only been able to do it with a couple of home runs. So see if they can put one more zero on and at least give the offense a chance.
Josh Hamilton walked his last time up, takes a breaking ball for a strike over the outside corner. Swung on and missed. Upstairs with it. Downstairs, 2-2. Josh Hamilton signed the big offseason contract. A lot of people penciled the Angels in to go right to the playoffs, but it didn't work out that way for them this year. They won their first game of the year. They beat Cincinnati 3-1 to start the season. It's the last time they were above 500.
Wow. Hard to believe, huh?
They made a heck of a run, though, Rick. They got to within 2 games of the 500 mark. They shut out Boston on July the 7th, 3-0. They were 43-45, hanging around. Since then, they've gone 8-17. And right after that shutout of Boston, when you seemingly have that momentum going, they go on a road trip against the Cubs and the Mariners, a 5-game road trip. They lost 4 out of 5 going into the All-Star break, and seemingly the bottom fell out. They've lost 10 of their last 13 coming into tonight. But they do have the lead here, 5-2 in the ninth. He walks the leadoff man. Josh Hamilton is aboard. Up comes Eric Ibar, 2 for 3 on the night. Hit into a double play his last time up. Runner goes. Bounce to third. Chisenhall looks to second, but he'll take the out at first. And Hamilton in the scoring position. 1 away. Good time to start the runner. It would have been a double play otherwise. The executive producer for Sports Time Ohio is Tom Farmer. Coordinating producer Steve Warren. Tonight's game produced by Jim Murphy, directed by Pat Murray. Indians Live, produced by Mike Bachman. Associate producers Mike Pacta and Steve Bardo. Technical director Dan Larson. Creative consultant Mark Koha. Good to have Tom Boshenik back from his vacation here in the booth. Check swing foul over toward the Angels dugout.
He came back right on his game, didn't he? Threw me a curveball on
sure
the first
did.
pitch.
First pitch breaking ball.
He's allowed to, he says. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, Chief.
Carrasco deals, and Iannetta checks. It's low. 1-1. Got in on him, popped him up. Out goes Kipnis. He makes the catch. 2 down. And that'll bring up Grant Green. Grant Green 0 for 2 with a walk. And a sky-high pop on the infield. Santana, the first baseman, is under it, and he's got it. We'll go to the bottom of the ninth. The Angels 5, the Indians 2. Tire Express and Total Car Care comes your way next.
Well, Dane De La Rosa on the mound. He is a rookie, making his 53rd appearance already this year, 5-1 record. Has never faced the Tribe before, so this will be his first look at him, and for the Indians, their first look. So we don't know what he has. We'll have to wait and see.
He's got a fastball that tops out in the mid-90s, a breaking ball, and a splitter. He's a big guy, too, at 6'7".
Yeah, he looks big.
Originally a 24th round pick of the Yankees back in 2002. He's pitched with the Tampa Bay Rays in the big leagues, and now with the Angels. Upstairs, ball 1 to his Dribble Cabrera. Cabrera homered in the 4th. He's also lined out, blistering shot to first, and he hit a line drive to center, also caught. Fastball strike.
Well, you can see he has had that ball has been jumping off his bat. That second one up to 100 miles an hour.
Upstairs.
And that was the home run ball, and he did get all of that one.
Hit that off of his foot.
Yeah, you can tell by the crack of the bat. You put it down and you start jogging. That was no doubt for Asdrubal, but now trying to get on base and get something rolling here in the bottom half of the ninth for him. And it's a 2-2 count.
De La Rosa, one of those guys who's come a long way to get to where he's at. I mentioned he was drafted originally by the Yankees in 2002. Says he didn't take the game seriously early in his career. He was released by the Yankees, released by the Brewers. He's pitched in independent baseball. He's come a long way back, but now he's pitching in the uniform of the team he grew up idolizing. De La Rosa grew up in Torrance, California, just about 30 miles from Angel Stadium. He pitched for the Maryland Blue Crabs of the Atlantic Leagues. And there's a fly ball to left field. Cowgill coming hard. He dives. What a catch. Are you kidding me? That defensive move pays off for Mike Scioscia as Cowgill robs Cabrera of what could have been his fourth hit of the night. He's been victimized 3 times.
Well, and, you know, he just got a good jump.
Wow.
That ball almost popped out. It stayed in his glove. It's a nice running catch. Nice running catch. I don't know if he'd try that attempt if it was a 1-run game, but with 3-run game, he can go ahead. And, yeah, rookie loves it.
Now Michael Brantley 1 for 3 with a home run on the night. When De La Rosa was pitching in the Atlantic League for the Maryland Blue Crabs, it was his 6th team in his 3rd different independent league.
Wow.
So you talk about a guy who was kicking it around and just trying to stay alive. And eventually, he got his second chance, his proverbial second chance. And he's making the most of it now. Getting an opportunity to close for the Halos. The 1-1 to Brantley. He's got him down on the count of ball and 2 strikes. Upstairs with a heater. The 2-2. Bounced weakly to short. Ibar sets and throws 2 down. And that'll bring up Carlos Santana, 1 for 3 on the night. With 2 down here in the bottom of the ninth. Well, you can look back at this one and say the first inning took him out of the game when Scott Kazmir gave up 5 runs, but you cannot consistently go out and expect a win by scoring 2 runs.
That's no doubt about it.
Doesn't matter how good the opposing starting pitchers are. They're all good in the big leagues. They've got to find a way to start putting more runs on the board. The 1-1.
Nice little hook there.
Big old Uncle Charlie. And the Indians down to their final strike. Santana stays alive. $28,729 the attendance here tonight on a beautiful Friday evening. Now Santana down in a heap.
Right on the inside of the big toe in the arch area.
Dane De La Rosa delivers. Up high, 2-2. And so Carlos Santana has worked it back to a full count. Santana awaits the 3-2. The payoff pitch. And he fouls it right back. Santana set the 3-2 pitch. It's up high, ball 4. So Santana reaches to keep it alive for the Indians. 2 down here in the 9th inning. Now Jason Giambi coming up. He's 0 for 3 on the night.
Well, not the way you wanted to do it, because he had Santana down 1-2 in the count and walking him. You want him to hit his way on, but now Giambi, you base hit, you bring that tying run to the plate.
Santana takes off. He'll go down to second base. Giambi takes a strike. Anything to get that tying run to the dish. Bouncing ball to first. That'll end it. The Indians' losing streak continues. They've dropped 5 in a row. The Angels stopped their 4-game skid with a 5-2 win over the Indians here tonight. Tribe drops to 62 and 54. The Angels are 52 and 62. Winning pitcher Jared Weaver, he's 7-5. And the loser is Scott Kazmir. He falls to 7-5. Well, as I mentioned, the Indians just didn't get enough offense, didn't hit enough. Yeah, the 5-run first inning hurt. But it's not often you're going to go out and win a game 2-0 or 2-1.
It's a rarity. You have to start scoring some more runs. There's no question about it. Bullpen did a great job, though.
Yeah, well, boy, Carlos Carrasco.
Yes,
can't say enough. He came in and put up 5 zeros. That's all you can ask for. Let's take a look at our key play of the game, brought to you by Key Bank.
Well, let's go back to that first thing. Although you don't want to, you get a fastball inside. Kazmir tried to sneak it by Hamilton, and he didn't let him. He turned on it. That's a 3-run home run. That's what made it 5-0. And that's going to be our Key Bank play of the game. Get a free Kindle Fire HD when you sign up for a new checking account. Some restrictions apply.
Well, this homestand has been a disaster so far, and the Indians cannot get things turned around. They lose 5-2 tonight to the Angels in the series opener. We'll come back and talk about it next on Indians Live.